New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring.
What if the person you think you are is just a fraction of who you truly are? What if years of conditioning and surviving in a challenging world have left you clinging to strategies and beliefs that mask your truest nature? I'm Catherine Duca, psychotherapist and self-esteem coach, and you're listening to Who Do You Think You Are? A show that looks beneath our psychological masks and uncovers our profoundly messy, beautiful, brilliant, tender-hearted essence. Join me as we go in search of the hidden power of our true selves. I'm so glad you're here. Hello, and a warm, warm welcome to Who Do You Think You Are? I'm your host, Catherine Duca, and I am so happy to be a part of the New Thought Media Network family. So honored to have a seat at this beautiful, wonderful table, and so very honored to have a place in your earbuds tonight, my beautiful listeners. If you're familiar with this station, New Thought Media Network, you already know what a special place this is for meaningful conversation and an in-depth look at life and love and positivity and possibility and upliftment and inspiration and so on and so forth. But if you are tuning in for the very first time tonight, I want you to know that you have found a special home here. It is a place you can turn to any hour of the day or night to feel more grounded, more uplifted, more inspired, and more committed to making this a world that works for everyone. Welcome, welcome. You know, whenever I begin a new venture with new people, I love to set an intention. I think it helps navigate our conversation and our reflection. So, if you would join me in this intention, let's intend together to embrace curiosity and openness and allow ourselves to question our assumptions and limitations and receive new insights and new perspectives. May our exploration of who we truly are guide us home to our truest selves, and may we emerge more authentic, more compassionate, and more empowered. If you would please, wherever you are, take a breath in and in silence, say with me, I am worthy, I am open, I am curious, and I open myself up to self-discovery. Doesn't that feel good? I think it feels good to feel good. Now, if you're listening from anywhere in the United States tonight, because this network broadcasts all over the world, you probably know we have something going on here this week. And perhaps you are excited, exhilarated, but there's a good chance you might be doing some nail biting right now, and you might be feeling some degree of anxiety. Well, I want to say that although this show is not political per se, I believe that our politics really is an extension of our values, our consciousness, and who we are as individuals. Because I think the body politic is really nothing more than the collective of our individual visions of the kind of life we wish to live and the freedom with which to live it. So I think that in order to steer the course of our own lives, not only with intellectual knowledge and facts, but with something equally as important, emotional intelligence. Each of us is going to have to know who we are. This is no time to take it easy. Regardless of the outcome of this election in a couple of days, we cannot take a back seat and rely on someone else to take the wheel. It is up to each of us to stand in our own power. If you're within the chat and you can write something, let me know if you agree with that. It is up to each of us to take responsibility in a proactive and deliberate way. There is no longer an other that we could just leave our well-being to. So that's exactly what this show is about, personal power. It's about understanding what personal power is. It's about harnessing it and using it consciously and deliberately. You know, I think that begs the question, though, what if we don't have a lot of personal power or we don't know how to stand in it? How do we go about developing it? Well, I come to you as a licensed clinical social worker, psychotherapist, self-esteem coach, stutterer, actually, and the author of a book that's very close to my heart called Unmasked: Discover the Hidden Power of Your True Self. And we'll get to this and much more. But because you have invited me into your listening space, I think it's only fair that you learn a little something about me and that I give you some context into who I am, how I came to this microphone, how I got to be me, um, why I'm so passionate about the work that I do, and what about it really, really lights me up. So I'm going to start at the beginning. I was born. Now, this might be a good time, truthfully, to go to the kitchen and grab a sandwich or something, because this could take a minute. But I think it's germane to the show, tonight's topic, and to getting to know me. The name of my book, again, is Unmasked, and I think it's only fair that I share some of my own masks with you. And I have to tell you, there's nothing like an activity like this, broadcasting to people, that really brings up some of my own defense mechanisms. So let's see how this goes. So, okay, I was born. I was born at Hackensack Hospital. It's now a big place, Hackensack University Medical Center. But at the time, it was a 28-bed hospital. And I was born to John and Grace. My mom grew up on a farm in Arkansas, and my dad in a tenement in Lower Manhattan. She was a registered nurse, and he was in construction. They met in the Army, actually. And at that time, the time of their meeting, my mom was a lieutenant, I think a second lieutenant, and my dad was a private. And their initial meeting occurred when my mother took inspection of my dad's barracks, only to discover that he made his bed incorrectly. So I guess that thing that you hear about the quarter has to bounce off the sheets, I guess that's true, because she proceeded to remove all of his bed linens and pile them up on the floor. When he got back to his barrack and discovered this, he apparently marched straight over to the officers' club and gave my mother a piece of his mind. Not the coolest thing to do to a ranking officer, but in their case, this did not lead to a court-martial, but instead to a romance and a marriage. They had my older brother, Larry, who has since passed away, and then me, and another child when I was about 2 years old. She died in infancy from a birth defect and never came home from the hospital. I actually learned about her existence when I discovered her birth certificate in the back of a drawer. Now, try to follow these breadcrumbs, okay? I found her birth certificate in the back of a drawer. John and Grace could not have been any more opposite in their personalities and how they navigated life. She always went for the sure thing, a safe bet, the least amount of risk. She was kind, she was soft spoken, and never met a stranger. And boy, did I love her Southern accent. She would call me Kathy. Kathy, do this, or Kathy, what's going on? It seemed every word had an extra syllable. Kathy, close the door, go to the store. And if my relatives in Arkansas and Oklahoma are listening tonight, I love your accent. So back to Mom. She didn't cook very often, but when she did, she made the absolute best Southern fried chicken you've ever tasted. The first time we hugged, I was in my mid-30s. My dad was a hardworking entrepreneur. He owned a small construction company and had a great sense of humor and a heart of gold. That did not stop him, however, from being quite sharp and critical of himself, of me, of almost everyone. He was the kind of guy, he would compliment anyone. He would be the very first person to tell you you looked great or you did something well, but he'd also be the first person to tell me my hair was too frizzy or something like that. He always made my breakfast. He was very nurturing, and he often gave me more money for the ice cream truck than I asked for. He did occasionally tell me my eyes were too close together and something about my ears being a little too big, and that because of that, I would never be Miss America. Well, he was right about some of that anyway. I never became Miss America. Anyway, this vanilla chocolate soft swirl of a parental unit taught me so much about myself, some of which I love deeply, some of which I'd like to forget, and some I'm still trying to make sense of. They, along with my parental aunts, my dear aunts, Sophie and Laura, who were intimate extended family, Italian American, they were my introduction to the world, what I could expect from it, and how to behave in it. But I'll tell you, it was my years at Catholic school, from preschool through college, that made some of the most memorable impressions on me. There, I learned that God would forgive any of my heinous sins. I was 9. Heinous. That I was born with an original stain on my soul, original sin. No small thanks to Adam and Eve. But that he might also punish me harshly if I stepped over a piece of discarded paper without bending down to pick it up. The same was true of wearing shorts. I was told that God didn't like shorts, and if he found out that we were wearing shorts in the 3rd grade that summer, that there could be trouble. I carried frustration and shame that Eve ate that piece of fruit, for heaven's sakes. I was incredulous that she listened to a talking snake. With everything she had in the Garden of Eden, she had to have that piece of fruit. I was incredulous. But I have to say, all these decades later, I still make sure not to step over the piece of paper. School was a very scary place for me, actually. Our Lady of Mount Carmel, it's no longer there. I remember it as a very strict environment with frequent hitting and humiliation. Now, thankfully, I was spared from most of that, with 1 or 2 scalding exceptions, but I witnessed other children being treated in such a manner. I am sure, or I certainly pray, that things are different today. In my tweens, my parents would argue a lot. As I said, my dad was in the construction business, and you can imagine what a colorful business that is. I would awaken every morning of my life to intense arguing, wicked, wicked arguing. It was almost always about money or deliveries or contractors reneging on their commitments. And these arguments were pretty raw. There was volume, there was cursing, there were threats. I listened from my bedroom, and I could hear the yelling through the closed door. And as I listened, I could tell actually that they each had a good point. I understood what dad was trying to say to mom and vice versa, but they were talking completely past one another. And their gross misunderstandings and their communication style really brought out the worst in each of them. But I thought to myself as I listened, I should go out there. I can help them understand each other. I could referee this thing. But I didn't. I just let them argue and got myself dressed and went to school. When I got to college, it was interesting because I learned that there was a career for something like this, a career for someone who wanted to be helpful, a career who wanted to help people get along better. And the beginnings of a career were born. In college, I was a peer counselor. Other students seemed to seek me out and confide in me, and I found that I could talk to others about their problems very easily. And I suppose in the process, I got further away from my own. I think I got to hide behind the role of helper. My own issues remained underground. They were unnoticed and completely unrecognized by me. After graduating college with my bachelor's in psychology and a few graduate school rejections under my belt, I made my parents proud. I made them very proud by buying a hot dog truck. It was a tiny blue truck that I found in the newspaper. I had to drive to the docks of Manhattan, and those of you who know anything about that area. And I dressed myself in my three-piece blue suit, my platform heels, my, I don't know, my designer bag, and I went to the docks and knocked on the door. And I remember the guy opened the door and flashed me his gun in his holster. That's the kind of environment it was. But somehow I came out with a hot dog truck. I painted it sky blue, and I had the words Duca's dogs emblazoned on each door, and I was hot stuff. And I loved it. I really loved it. And little did I know, but that truck became a precursor to what became my private practice in psychotherapy. I don't know, people started telling me their life story. I would say, "Hi, Jack. How's Marcia? I haven't seen her around in a while. You want to bring some dogs home to her?" And Jack said, "No, the marriage is rocky. I don't think we're going to make it. I think we're going to get a divorce. Hey, Kathy, can I ask you some questions?" And there again, I was really taken with the opportunity and what I thought and think today uh, is a privilege. So I enrolled in graduate school and pursued my MSW, and began my work as a therapist. And there came a point as a new therapist, actually probably 3 minutes in, that I was bumping up against my own blind spots and triggers from my family history. For example, a client would tell me that her parents were arguing vehemently, and she was upset about that. And I found myself thinking to myself, "You're upset about that? What's that?" Or Another good one was a client told me she was upset that her dad would stop by unannounced early in the morning on a Saturday or a Sunday and come by with pastries or something. And she was, enraged that he would do that unannounced. Well, in my family, that was done all the time. So again, I thought to myself, what's the problem here? I don't think I see a problem. In fact, what happened was I became desensitized to harsh behavior, actually, and to somewhat loose boundaries. Well, as I began to, or not began, but as I continued in therapy and deepened my work on myself, I challenged the reflexive beliefs and judgments I made about what was right and what was wrong. And in retrospect, I began to identify a gap that I didn't know I had at the time between a self that was hidden, submerged, and suppressed, and the acting job I had been doing all along. The image I was presenting to the world did not match my internal reality, AKA my secret. Living in the gap of these disconnected parts of myself left me feeling inauthentic, imposter-ish, and like I didn't own myself, like I didn't belong to me, because I didn't. I belonged to the expectations placed on me by my parents who were too busy and too consumed with their own things and challenges, and the rules of my Catholic school upbringing. I have to say, the consequences of living that way had me feeling very anxious, insecure, and hard on myself. Whenever I felt uneasy, I would just tell myself, come on, buck up, don't be a baby. Well, I know now that I wasn't very grounded and I couldn't really let anyone get close to me because I didn't want my insecurities exposed. Yet outwardly, I was quite outgoing. I think I was well liked. I was involved in sports. I held leadership positions. But I know that I put on a mask when I went out the door. And my mask was, nothing's wrong with me. I don't have the problems. Other people have the problems, and I'm happy to help them. Well, in the years that followed that, I had more therapy. And I went to as many workshops as I could with experts and authors who actually revolutionized the personal transformation movement. And I was introduced to the newly emerging intersection at the time of psychology and spirituality. This was a complete departure for myself and for my colleagues at the time, but it was exciting and inspiring and enlightening. Yet, it was one of my earliest clients who taught me what I now believe is the deepest value of psychotherapy. This client, I'll call her Monique. That's, of course, not her real name. But I learned from Monique that the deepest value of therapy is not about changing behaviors, which it does, of course, nor is it about developing more self-confidence, which, of course, it also does. As this client said to me at the end of therapy, she said, I never forgot it. She said, Kathy, and this is a direct quote. She said, now that therapy is over, you've helped me clear the debris that was standing between myself and something larger than myself. I'll say that again. You've helped me clear the debris. That's the exact word she used, that was standing between myself and something bigger than me. And I feel oddly, she said that too, I feel oddly more connected to a higher power or something else, something divine. Well, I have to say, I didn't know what she meant, but I know profound when I hear it. And that was profound. But I continued to work with people in the way in which I was accustomed, and things went well. I believe I helped my clients narrow their authenticity gap, and many of my clients enjoyed a successful treatment outcome, and I felt incredibly gratified. Cut to some years later, when my partner and I were moving into our new home, our dream home. And I mean it when I say we were moving in. It was literally our moving day. The moving trucks were there. It was a beautiful July afternoon. The neighborhood was full of people and children, and we were waving to each other. And somehow, my partner was in the house, but I was outside, was robbed at what I believe was knife point. Um, the There were 2 or 3 guys that took a crowbar and took the headlights out of my car and made the windows go down and take the contents of my car and put it into their getaway car. Now, in that car, I had precious things that I didn't want the movers to handle. I had my grandmother's silverware and I had some important papers. And when I saw that, I rather, what's the word, stupidly, approached them anyway and said, please, 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 give me back my stuff. There's no money in there, please. And you know what? They did. They gave me back the stuff. They didn't take any of they took the headlights and they took off. Needless to say, that was traumatizing. I say knife point because one of the guys said he had a knife under his shirt. The police thought that was the case. Anyway, I was very, very upset. I was very, very upset and almost inconsolable, actually. And my partner and I didn't know how we were going to sleep in the house. Well, a few days went by. Somehow, I guess we slept. I think we slept in a hotel, actually. And a friend of mine at the time wanted to be so helpful and probably was kind of tired of hearing me cry. She said to me, Kathy, I want you to come with me next Sunday. I want you to come to a special place. I want you to come. She didn't tell me what the place was. She said, but I just want you to come to a place. Well, I did. I walked into this place, and it turned out it was the Center for Spiritual Living, North Jersey. It was called a different name at that point. I think it was called the Center for Conscious Living, now the Center for Spiritual Living, North Jersey. And I walked in, and you know what? To this day, I can't tell you what happened there. I can't tell you what happened. I don't know. There was beautiful music music I've never heard before. There was a beautiful celebration of peace and togetherness. Now, I told you I went to Catholic school, nursery through college. So I had a lot of Catholic going on, right? But unlike the harsh Catholic environment that I was raised in, I felt some kind of something there that was hard to describe. You know how I felt loved. I felt loved. I felt acknowledged. I felt seen for who I was, past the robbery, past my scared little Catholic schoolgirl self, past all my layers of stuff. I felt loved and seen and acknowledged. That was something. And I thanked my friend, and I didn't talk to anybody. I just went home, and I thought, well, that was really something. I don't know. And I didn't think I was going to go back. But somehow the following week, I don't know, I got in my car and I went there Sunday morning, and I've pretty much been going ever since. It gave me a completely different experience of my life. Now, many of you have no doubt heard it said that we are spiritual beings having a human experience, right? I know many of you have heard that. The human experience, we all have personalities, and with personality comes all the things characteristic of having a personality. We have beliefs. We have defense mechanisms, attachment styles, adaptive styles, unconscious processes, and a self-concept, how we view ourselves and what we think of ourselves. We have, in fact, a relationship with ourselves. With a very poignant, recognition from my client Monique, and then with the Center for Spiritual Living, my psychological work with clients has evolved, actually. It's become a doorway into who they really are and who I really am beyond personality, beyond life experiences. The child of God worthiness that I think Monique was talking about can't really get through if our psychological unworthiness hasn't been worked through and sufficiently healed. Let me say that again. The child of God worthiness that Monique referred to can't get through, I believe. It can't get through in a deep, deep way if our psychological unworthiness and blocks haven't been worked through successfully. So it is my hope, dear listeners, that the content I offer and the conversations we have will help you look at who you think you are and discover who you truly are. Because, I think we all know this, no one is coming to save us. Each of us deserves the inner peace and peace of mind that comes from relaxing into our truest nature. Truthfully, it is the only safety net we have. Nothing outside of us is going to save us. The only thing that's going to save us is the safety net we create within us that is built from love and acceptance. It's as simple as that. But to get to that, to believe that, to breathe that in, we have to be unmasked. So, listen, I hope that sandwich tasted pretty good. I know it probably was a hero sandwich. Why don't we take a short break? Okay, we have a lot to digest. When we come back, I'll share some of what you can expect from this show. You're listening to New Thought Media Network. I'm Catherine Duca on Who Do You Think You Are? Stay with me.
Please help us say thank you to our organizational sponsors, including the Hefferland Foundation, Affiliated New Thought Network, International New Thought Alliance, Science of Mind Archives and Library Foundation, Center for Spiritual Living Denver, Center for Spiritual Living Midtown, New Thought Philadelphia, Planned Happiness Institute, Summit Center for Spiritual Living, One Heart Retreats, Center for Spiritual Living on the Lake, Unity Kitchener, Unity Spiritual Center Ottawa, Om Center for Spiritual Living, Satya Center, Begin Within Ministries, Center for Spiritual Living North Jersey, Unity of Savannah, and the Center for Spiritual Living Seattle, as well as all of our individual donors. Thank you for being part of the New Thought Media Network. Please like, share, and subscribe. New Thought Media Network, positively inspiring.
New Thought Media Network is on the rise. We're looking to grow with you. Do you have technical media experience? Or perhaps a desire to learn? Are you willing to volunteer your precious time and attention? We share this message to benefit all. If you possess a computer with a camera and a microphone, we will share our knowledge with you. Behind the scenes or being the star, let us bless our one. Contact us at info@ntmedia.org.
What if the person you think you are is just a fraction of who you truly are? What if years of conditioning and surviving in a challenging world have left you clinging to strategies and beliefs that mask your truest nature? I'm Catherine Duca, psychotherapist and self-esteem coach, and you're listening to Who Do You Think You Are? A show that looks beneath our psychological masks and uncovers our profoundly messy, beautiful, brilliant, tender-hearted essence. Join me as we go in search of the hidden power of our true selves. I'm so glad you're here. And we're back. Thank you. And thank you for your comments. I really appreciate them. Dawn, who is my partner, actually, and the kindest person I know, I have to say, tells me that I really shouldn't, see, I'm hard on myself. I really shouldn't say that when I approached the guy who robbed the headlights that it was stupid of me. She said, really, that might have been a trauma response, or, I was in fight or flight, right? That it was a reaction to something that was really happening. So, friends, that's a little glimpse into some of my self-talk. Okay. So, when I work with clients, and if any of my clients are listening, you know that I consider myself a therapist, of course, but I view myself as really a spin instructor. I'm doing the work along with you. Okay. So when I encourage you to be more gentle and to try to quiet the critical inner voice, know that I'm doing it too. So thank you, Dawn. Well, I think you can tell that the point of this show, or one of the primary points, is about self-awareness. What is self-awareness? Self-awareness is the willingness and the ability to look at ourselves, how we are acting and reacting within this huge matrix we're all a part of, right? But most fundamentally, because it starts here, how we are reacting to ourselves, how we show up for ourselves or don't. Maybe we avoid showing up. Maybe we hide. I mean, there are many ways to hide. We'll get into all of that. But it is this aspect of self-knowledge, I believe wholeheartedly, which is what gives us a sense of looking at others and understanding others. I get asked pretty often, do we have to understand ourselves before understanding others? Do I have to understand me before I can understand you? I think you know the answer to that. It's an emphatic, absolutely yes. We each have a resume. This is how I look at it. We each have a resume. We have the resume that details the accounting of our lives, what we did, where we went, where we worked, we raised children, we went to school, et cetera, et cetera. We did things. That's on one resume. But we also have an equally important other resume. I call it an emotional resume. All the influences that shaped us, all the John and Graces, all the schools, all the teachers, all the people who crossed our paths and left us with a message of one sort or another. These influences shape the way we relate, the way we develop trust, the way we handle conflict, the way we set boundaries, the way we ask for help or don't, the way in which we move through life and get from life what it offers. some of the major aspects of how we live are embedded in this emotional resume. And we bring this resume with us every place we go. We bring it to whomever we meet. And guess what? Everyone we meet is bringing their resume as well. And our resumes, you'll come to see, you already know from my story, contain a lot of layers of defense and protection and deflection, aka psychological masks or personas. You know, I'm reminded that A Course in Miracles, for those of you who may not be familiar, it's a self-study program of spiritual psychotherapy, and it's one of many texts that shows us how to connect with the oneness and with one another. And there's a line in the Course in Miracles that says, and this has always struck me, it says, heaven is not a place, but a state of mind. It's not a location, but a choice. Heaven is not a place, but rather a state of mind. It is not a location, but a choice. And here's the important part. Here's the really important part. It is not entered alone, but with another. Love does not live in a vacuum. It is meant to be expressed, and it is meant to be received. But if we are relating mask to mask, how in the world, think about it, how in the world are we to have genuine, authentic interactions and authentic relationships? So we go to heaven and hell. I learned from my early time, and I learn it every day at the Center for Spiritual Living, North Jersey. Heaven and hell are states of consciousness. Heaven and hell are states of consciousness. And if you've ever experienced a dark night, if you've ever been really down, if you've ever felt really alone, what is that? That feels like hell, doesn't it? I think it does. And I have visited there. I have visited there. And sometimes I upgraded to limbo. So heaven and hell are states of consciousness, friends. Love does not exist in a vacuum. I say all this to say two crucial things. That it's a state of consciousness, heaven and hell, right here, right now, where we are. Nothing has to happen tomorrow or the next day, or it doesn't depend on who becomes president. Of course, that's a major thing. I'm not discounting it at all. I'm as nervous as anybody. But deeper than that is the anchor that keeps us grounded. And I submit for your mature consideration, it is the anchor of love. And it's deeper than romantic love. It's deeper than friendship love. It's something else. And I hope on this show, from our conversations and your comments, I hope that we can really delve into more who we truly, truly are. So in coming episodes, we will look at things like connection, trust, autonomy, give and take, what to do when you're at the bottom, what to do when you're feeling high and at the top. We're going to look at all the facets of relationships. Why? Because we go to heaven. We go to heaven 2 by 2. We go to heaven with another. So I think we need to, or my wish is that we have a deeper understanding of what it takes to have the most genuine connection we can possibly have. So friends, I leave you with this. Let me just check the comments. Okay. Someone is saying or asking if the hot dogs were vegan as well as. Listen, I have some guilt about serving hot dogs now that I know more about nutrition than I did then. So Friends, I hope this conversation got you thinking. I hope you'll come back next week and the week after and the week after. I would love to get to know you. You can reach me anytime at catherineduca.com. Send me your questions, your comments, your insights, things you'd like me to talk about. If you disagree with something or you have a different take, please let me know that. I really would love to make this, I grew up with communion, Holy Communion. I now believe that communion is communing. It is community. And it is my sincere hope that this little podcast can be a portal for your deepest self, your deepest love, and your deepest peace of mind. Dare to be yourself. And it's my pleasure and privilege to play some role in that each and every Sunday at 9:00. Thank you so much for your time, your attention. If you're on the East Coast or on Eastern Standard Time, it's pretty late here at night. Thank you for giving me your precious time. I appreciate it. I'm honored. Namaste. Be well.